Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where last episode, after declaring that Soseki Natsumi may have been the possible victim of a gas-related crime and William Shamspeare a potential murderer, we asked the court to bring forth a witness that could prove crucial to our current case, who had a jar of poison in hand and a link to the scene of the crime, Olive Green. After a recess in which we learned that the poison Olive Green had was in fact strychnine, we returned to the courtroom to hear from both Olive and William about the evening of the 17th of February. Picking up an unfortunate penalty as we now continue to press. It was the first time I'd been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all.
Hold it!
What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate. It was nothing, really. It's not worth mentioning. If you remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital. Ah! It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green! What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. From memory, I believe the card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. What does that matter? This has nothing to do with Duncan. Hello?
Excuse me.
Mr. Shamspeare, do you have something to share with the court? To be or not to be, that is the question. Ah, pray forgive me, the great bard's words springeth from within me with ne'er a thought. Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps. Well, nay, sire, 'twas nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean? After all, you were both lodgers in the same house. I would it were so, but sadly nay. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodgings fellows be rarely known to me. So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours?
Miss Green.
Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong?
The card that was mentioned before, containing the note. You have it upon your person?
I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really.
Before you dispose of it, the court will take it as evidence, please.
Miss Green's card has been entered into the court record. A note in an envelope that seems to have been ripped open rather roughly. It contains instructions to meet with someone who claims to have information about Duncan Ross. Of course, that's what links Mr. Shamspeare and Miss Green. It's Duncan Ross.
And now, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green.
And I bet you we've got the thing we needed to present at the previous statement now. Anyway, I was admitted straight to hospital, so I knew nothing about all of this business.
Hold it!
Yes, you didn't regain consciousness until the day after the trial, did you? In the early hours. Exactly. So how could I have had anything to do with it? And yet you still haul me in here to court like this. Honestly.
So at the time of the poisoning, the witness was unconscious in a hospital bed. Could there be a more airtight alibi, I ask you?
And yet, in spite of that, you claim that I was the culprit.
Well,
But you certainly haven't produced any evidence to support your wild claim, have you? None at all.
There you have it. The good lady has yet to see evidence, my learned Nipponese friend. I'm working on it. Counsel, I will point out here the jury's next decision will be final. We're really up against the wall here.
Why? Why can't a summation examine a third time? Oh, Mr. Nanahodo, you pursued Mr. Shamspeare wonderfully there. It's worked out well, hasn't it? We have a new clue at last. All right, now I need to pull off a really insightful objection somewhere. Well, as you managed to expose this promising new angle, I wonder if you should perhaps try to develop that.
Ah, yes, of course. And yelling out objections isn't necessarily the best way to do that, I suppose. So it's telling me not to yell out objection, but rather go into something.
Ah, that penalty will weigh upon my mind. It was the dumbest penalty of moving along text boxes I have ever just seen. Really, we're going here.
Because I remember the text off here, do I not? Oh, okay, no, I open it. Open sesame! The envelope has been ripped open rather carelessly, hasn't it? The screen strikes me as the type to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah, what is it? The way the envelope is torn, I'm almost sure I've seen that exact same shape somewhere else. Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruhodo? Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up. They go together perfectly. This torn off end of the envelope clearly belongs with this card. Hi, Miss Green's card. The envelope fits perfectly with a torn off piece found at the scene of the crime. And now we've got the torn off end of the envelope fits perfectly with an envelope in Miss Green's possession. I was trying to actually read the message though. I guess I just have to remember what it said. But I'm pretty sure this is it. Is it not? So now this has been examined and found to be joined with something which was in someone's room, which of course links someone's whereabouts to places.
Hold it!
A tavern, you say? Which one? 'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tally. 'Tis a jewel in the East End. And a little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zeeks? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining. For the locality, at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room. It's true, the menu lists premium crust of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness. I would have expected Grub's Grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas, or rather, soupy water and pea-like mush. All equally appetizing. I know we heard this before. I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that? How different can water really be? Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment. Agreed. The fact that on that day of all days he dined at a place he wouldn't normally... It does stand out. So Mr. Shanspeare's own actions on the days the incident 6 days ago was slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain these actions. And then I pressed X at the wrong time. But now this time it's the right time. Mr. Shanspeare. Yes, sire? On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize? For a very particular reason. I don't know what you're talking about. Play, if thou hast some purpose, speakest. Very well, I will present the court with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day. Namely, the message.
Take that!
I believe this card reveals the answer. Oh, good lord! Miss Green's card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shanspeare, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Ah. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shanspeare? Well... Excuse me? Can I say something? Yes, Miss Green? That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it? Well, you'd think so, yes, but it's hard to believe it's merely... My lord, may I? And may you what, Miss Green? I'd like to make something very clear about that card. Very well then. You may amend your testimony to include details about the peculiar note. This note was delivered to me at my address. It's nothing to do with the odd man next to me here. Yes, your address. Really? Do I straight up present or do I press? Because this was found in his room.
Objection!
The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. And upon carrying out the instructions in the note, you found yourself in hospital. Yes, I did. It's terrible. Everything that's happened to me. Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is. What do you mean? Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the torn-off end of an envelope. Oh, is it? And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received. But where did you find that? In Mr. Shakespeare's room. In my room. Mr. Shakespeare, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well, your actions that afternoon followed the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th, and so that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shakespeare. You already knew about this note, didn't you?
And you, Miss Green.
What did I do? As this torn-off end of the envelope proves, the note was originally in Mr. Shakespeare's room. So how was it that it came to be in your possession? I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist after all.
There is only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shakespeare's room and stole it. You did what? Sorry, thou hast what? Thou were in my room? What on earth do you want with me?
It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again.
Miss Green.
Yes?
Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you've endured in recent events, anyone found to be given false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind.
Yes, I know.
Very well then, witnesses. You will give formal testimony again now. On the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received.
So we get another testimony. The anomaly of the note.
I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day written therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished.
I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it.
You now claim to receive this letter, do you, Mr. Shakespeare?
Faith, 'tis so, my lord. And I would swear to have set it upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet, 'tis clear to me now that since I returned from the tavern that night, I have not laid eyes upon it.
Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was...
A lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying.
I beg your pardon?
I'm just a fledgling artist, as I said, and fledgling artists don't lie. That note was delivered to me at my address. Besides, we all know who the liar around here is.
If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shakespeare's room.
I don't see why I should explain.
Sorry?
I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened. That's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer.
The fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth.
Well, counsel?
I'm ready, my lord.
Very well, then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses.
Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shakespeare's room. There can be no question of that. And that's how she acquired the note.
Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all of this. And it's not a pretty one.
The anomaly of the note. I guess we start to press. I do remember now, 'twas a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. And can you shed any light on the contents of the note at all? Nay, sire, 'tis as strange to me as a foreign tongue. Even with a knowledge of literature as great as mine own, verily 'tis impenetrable. But Mr. Duncan Ross had lodgings in the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbour, so surely you knew him, didn't you? Alack! If the choice is betwixt I knew him and I knew him not, then 'tis with foreboding that I be forced to declare we were by some small measure acquainted. Despite your claims, though, you followed the note's instructions and went to the Slug and Salad. Presumably that was nothing to do with your knowledge of literature. Mally, naught will have the better of me, sire, save for the lure of curiosity. So it is true, I was compelled by mine own eagle heart to betake myself to the tavern. Yet in the end, my curiosity was not satiated. On the day writ therein, I did tally a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Hold it! So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared. Well, yes, sire. 'Tis as thou sayest. Really? You paused for a moment before you answered. In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall...
Really? Do you mean to tell the court that somebody did appear after all?
I was not alone that night at the Slug and Salad, my lord. No, 'tis returning to me now. I did treat my lips to almost clear water, and mine innards to a premium crust of bread. And all around me danced a great many companions. What do you mean? Flies, sire, flies!
Oh, good lord!
In the name of Beelzebub, what were they? Fairies, perchance, from a midsummer night's dream, come to haunt me? I think they were just flies. I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to buzz around. Is that wrong of me? Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished. Hold it! When exactly did you notice it had gone missing? Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy my mind. I am busied with greater ideas. In other words, you didn't notice. Several days passed between your outing to the tavern and Mr. Natsume's visit to your room.
Yes, it would appear that the note disappeared sometime in that interval.
Such idle thoughts never occupy my mind. I am busied with greater ideas.
And yet, during that time, Miss Green was comatose in hospital, was she not? Clearly, then, she could not have been stealing things from Mr. Shamspeare's room.
Ah, yes, of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding, isn't it, Mr. Prosecutor, sire? Sir, yes, sir. You have so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation as to how you came by the notes. Ah! I am not here to advocate for your defense, madame. I won't tolerate inconsistencies in your story. You would do well to remember that. Oh, dearie me. What's Lord Van Zeek's getting at? I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? Hold it! It seems that this note was actually delivered to Mr. Shamspeare about 1 week ago. Oh, does it? But for some reason, it ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened except for you breaking into Mr. Shamspeare's lodgings.
Objection!
But for what reason would the witness have done that? I won't deny that Miss Green's possession of the note would appear to defy logic. However, until and unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless. Miss Green could only have come to be in possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shamspeare's room. And yet, there's no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing. What if there was some other reason she broke into his lodgings, though? Yes, we should pursue that idea, Mr. Naruhodo. We're close now. I can feel it. We're so close to a breakthrough. I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it.
I think we're presenting the reason of why. Not to take the letter, but you took it after the fact. But to poison the pipe, because you also knew that this was a method of murder somehow. That actually sounds like such a long logical leap, it's unreal. But that's the reason, right?
Objection!
Yes. Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle. And though the contents spilled during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. Ah! According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Sholmes' chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as strychnine. What? Strychnine? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare. Ah! Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of a pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspeare's room with poison.
Can this be?
You broke into my room to... It may seem incredible to the court, but from the remaining clues, there is only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie, me!
Order! Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with intent to kill?
Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts.
But if Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected, the attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely.
Well, that's a very good point.
Perhaps not, my lord. I beg your pardon?
There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at that time. Lord Van Zeeks. And of course, the following morning, there was more activity at Mr. Shamspeare's address. More activity? Ah, yes! You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder? That's right. And as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shamspeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself. To cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shamspeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison on the pipe lay dormant. And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again. Right, Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end.
The trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted.
That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out and Mr. Shamspeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier. Marry! With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan.
What plan?
The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock, and that the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for these instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home. Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed.
You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green? Yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room.
Order! Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness?
Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with somebody whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all of this.
You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life?
Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life, indeed? It would be Duncan Ross.
Take that!
Duncan Ross!
That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsumi, took up residence in the lodgings of Mr. Garadev's, somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings.
That does ring a vague. Ah, of course, yes, I remember now. The young man they claim was strangled by the convict's curse or some such.
Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspeare blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Ah! Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious deaths, that's all people care about. If it's an interesting story they want to know, it doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story's lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspeare. Or fiancé. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry? Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspeare, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe?
And this is law quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder?
Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas, thus causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shamspeare have wanted to kill those lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies, I deny every utterance. And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either. Miss Green! I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. You didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe. What was your reason? I thought I'd have a look around, that's all. Sorry? You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Oh vileness, oh villainy, oh tyranny, oh rotundity of woman. But in any case, whene'er I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock.
That whole place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some terps and a piece of wire.
Oh, awfulness, oh, artfulness, oh, tyranny, oh, profanity of woman. We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed.
Well, well, well. We are in the thick of it. But you know what's happening as we end off another episode of the Great Ace Attorney to Resolve. With the case looking to have come down to the nitty-gritty. The end, quite possibly. Still, there is more in our court record that we have yet to actually divulge. To give out. To show. So with that said and done, I ask you to join me next time as we get to the true bottom of what is essentially murder, attempted murder, but not by Soseki Natsume. As we look to clear our defendant for the second crime, for the second time. I'll see you guys next time for more. Bye-bye.